All right. We have been advised as city staff that if a tornado siren goes off here at the city, that we need to move to safer ground since we're on the fourth floor here, which means I don't foresee a tornado warning going off. But if it were to happen, we do ask that the chairman ask for a brief recess. And then once the warning has ceased, we can reconvene the meeting. But just wanted to give folks a heads up should that happen today or in the future. Any questions, Mr. Robinson, about that?
No.
Okay, sounds good. Take it away.
Good afternoon. The Board of Adjustment is now in session. My name is Anthony Robinson, and I will be chairing today's meeting. Attending today's virtual meeting are board members Mona Parsley, George Hitt, and Joe Kilitzing. Also in attendance for the city is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the city, who will represent the city in the cases we are hearing today. Andrea Gutierrez, Lead Zoning Specialist. Our attorney for the board is Archer Mellon, and our court reporter today is Devin Richmond. Today we will be hearing 4 cases. First, we will hear from the city's representative, who will explain why the permit could not be issued. Next, we will hear from the applicant and or their representative. Then we will hear from those in favor of the appeal, and then from those opposed. Please be concise, as testimony will be limited to 3 minutes per person. When you come online via video or telephone, please wait to be sworn in by the court reporter. Then please state your name and mailing address. To ensure proper records for our court reporter, we ask that those online or by telephone please to remain on mute. Following testimony on all of today's cases, the board will go into its deliberative portion of the hearing, at which time we will vote on all cases heard. The board will notify each applicant and or their representative of its decision by mail in about 2 weeks. You're welcome to remain during our deliberations. However, we will not hear additional testimony at that time. You may also call on the lead zoning specialist, Drea, tomorrow at 314-622-3666 to learn the outcome of your appeal. Again, the number is 314-622-3666. Drea, will you please read appeal number 20581?
Appeal number 20581, 2911 Gasconade Street.
Yep, that's me.
I'll be sworn in first, Ahmed.
Uh,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great.
All right. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to operate a licensed child daycare, no cooking, at 2111 Gasconade Street. I'd like to present as evidence for this case photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of doing business as Hood Daycare concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue an occupancy permit authorizing the petitioner to operate a licensed care facility, child daycare at 2111 Gasconade Street in city block number 2600.00 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is the B two-family dwelling district. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to conserve the values of property throughout the city of St. Louis and protect the character and stability of residential, business, and industrial areas. It's also to regulate and restrict the location and use of buildings, structures, and land for trade, industry, residence, and other uses, and to regulate, restrict the intensity of such uses. The applicable zoning code provisions are section 26.16.010. Uses are prohibited. No structure or land shall be used for use other than those permitted in the district in which such premises are located, unless such use is permitted by other provisions of the zoning code. And then also section 26.24.020S, use regulations and conditional use summary, which are section 26.24.020 and or 26.24.025. The use regulations and conditional uses of the B two-family dwelling district do not allow the appellant's proposal as stated above. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. So in summary, the applicant's applying for an occupancy permit to operate a child daycare. It's not permitted in this district, therefore a use variance is required prior to approval. The Planning and Urban Design Agency states that the 2025 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this a medium intensity neighborhood. This designation describes areas of the city that are primarily residential, though some neighborhoods serving commercial and retail uses are allowed. The granting of variance would be in keeping with this designation's intent of supporting neighborhoods serving assets like a daycare. This is also in the Gravois Jefferson Historic Neighborhood Plan. And the neighborhood plan has no specific recommendation for the site, but has a general goal of supporting young families and encouraging neighborhood serving assets within the neighborhood. Therefore, staff finds it's in keeping, the keeping of the variance is not in conflict with the neighborhood. Overall, planning staff finds request of appeal number 20581 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions from the board?
Okay, let's hear from the appellant.
Ahmed, this is you now.
There's really no question, but I mean, right?
Let's get you sworn in, Ahmed, and then
So
Okay.
first,
I swear, I
no,
would say,
Hold on.
Ahmed, hold on a second.
Normally I would be able to see you. Please raise your right hand. Do you
Okay.
swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I swear, I'll
Great.
say,
Great, we may begin.
Okay, Ahmed, let's get your name and mailing address for the record.
all right, my name is Ahmed Gray, and the mail address is 2911 Cascade.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony, if any.
Ahmed, can you explain what you're doing at this site or hoping to do?
It's a daycare, but like we're gonna like for example like babysit there, but like you said, we weren't gonna cook food there. Like all the food we're gonna bring it and then use the microwave. So like there'll be like no cooking in there. So like
Chairman, there's standard conditions for daycares. Would you like me to read those?
Absolutely.
All right, Ahmed, these are standard conditions. Should the board decide to grant the exception that are typically placed on daycares. So number one is that there shall be no more than X number of children on the premises at any given time. Do you know how many children do you plan to have?
around like 60, 62.
So, Ahmed, is that 60 or is it 62?
62.
Oh, the shift to it.
So it'll be like 2 shift and 62.
Okay,
All right. Condition number 2 is that the hours of operation shall be limited to whatever days and hours that you testify to. So what
It'll
will be
be
your hours?
for from 6 to like 9.
Is that 6 a.m.
Yeah. 7
To
days.
to
Yeah.
9 p.m. 7 days? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Number 3 is that all children must be escorted to and from the premises by an adult. Number 4 is the petitioner must obtain the proper permits from the City of St. Louis Building Division for any proposed signage at this location. Number 5 is that the petitioner must comply with all City of St. Louis building and ADA codes prior to operation. Number 6 is that the petitioner shall obtain and maintain a state of Missouri's daycare license prior to operation. Number 7, the petitioner must obtain and maintain a City of St. Louis business license prior to operation. Number 8, the petitioner shall provide a commercial dumpster and establish a trash removal contract through a private source for regular pickups and maintain the entire premises in a clean and orderly appearance at all times. And number 9, the petitioner shall provide a refuse container on the exterior of the premises for use by the customers and shall be emptied on a daily basis or more if needed. If another container is needed due to the level of business, it shall also be provided. Do you have any questions or concerns about those standard conditions?
No.
Okay, Mona.
I have a question, Mr. Hamid. Is there an outdoor space for the kids to play?
Yes, there's a background. We have a where kids can play. We already like built a gate for it too. So that's where kids can stay.
So it's 100% fenced.
Yes.
Okay. And in the original application, it indicated that you only wanted 32 children, and now you're indicating that you want 62 children. So how is that going to work? Is it no more than 32 children in the facility at a time? Because you said you had 2 shifts. Please explain.
No, it'll be like 2 shifts. So, the first shift it'll be like 32, and then second shift 30.
32.
So it won't be like one shift. It'll just be like 2
So-
shifts.
So what
they will
I
not.
could say in the conditions, if we approve you, is no more than 32 children in the facility at a time. Would that be
Yes.
accurate, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other caveat is it will be based on what the state actually approves you for, no more than.
Yeah.
Okay? Have you had the state come in and check the facility yet?
Yes.
And what did the state say?
It says 32 is allowed, but
Okay. What's the but? I'm sorry. Please finish.
yeah, like it'll be like every shift 32, and like they tell us like how to like what we need to build inside, like everything we need, and we're still doing that.
Okay. Did
So
you
like
have any issues with any of what we typically put on as conditions? Can you abide by all of those conditions, sir?
Yes.
Great. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions? Okay. Is there anyone else here to testify in favor of this appeal? All right. Is there anyone here to testify in opposition to this appeal? Hearing none, I will read into the record exhibits, certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, and a memo from Planning and Urban Design. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard. Drea, can you please read appeal number 11939?
Appeal number 11939, 2714 through 24 Brandon Avenue.
Swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Oh, I'll go first, guys.
Sorry.
That's all right.
That was me talking over you. Sorry about that.
All right. My name's Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to construct a commercial building zoning only per plans at 2714 to 24 Brandon Avenue. I'd like to present as evidence for this case photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of Paul S. Brendan concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit authorizing the petitioner to construct a commercial building zoning only per plans at 2714 to 24 Brandon Avenue in city block number 4070.04 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is Zone J Industrial District. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to fix reasonable standards to which buildings and structures shall conform. And the applicable zoning code provisions are section 26.16.020, structures prohibited. No structure shall be erected, placed, enlarged, or structurally altered unless such action shall make the premises upon which it shall stand conform to the regulations of the district in which the premises are located, unless authorized by other provisions of the zoning code. And then section 26.56.050, which takes you to 26.28.060A, area regulations of the front yard areas. When 25% of a frontage within the district is improved with dwellings, and a majority of such improved frontage has observed a front yard line with a variation in depth of not more than 6 feet, no building hereafter constructed shall project beyond the average front yard line so established, except that in no event shall a front yard line be greater than 50 feet. If less than 25% of such frontage is developed, then a front yard line for such frontage shall be the same as that for any other frontage along 2 city blocks, as designated by house numbers in any direction from the site. If no such precedent is available, then the front yard line shall be a minimum of 10 feet, but may not be required to exceed 25 feet from the lot line at the front of the lot. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. So in summary, the applicant's applying to construct a commercial building. It'll be for Ranieri Construction as a vehicle shop maintenance and storage facility. This is a permitted use in the J district. However, the front yard setback regulations for this district are actually found in the C multiple family dwelling district and state that no building shall project beyond the average front yard line so established. This is an unusual lot in that it's L-shaped and has 2 frontages. And the frontage along Rebar Place is the violation. It's approximately a 20-foot front yard setback along Rebar Place, and the proposed shop building will actually be set at the 0-foot lot line. Therefore, an area variance is required prior to approval. The City of St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency states that there's no adopted neighborhood plan covering this location. The 2005 strategic plan called this a business industrial preservation area, and the granting of variances in keeping with the business industrial area to promote industrial and non-retail commercial uses where stable businesses can exist and are encouraged to remain. The 2025 strategic land use plan calls this a flex industrial area. And the granting of a variance would be in keeping with this designation's intent of supporting many types of commercial activity and uses, including automobile related commercial uses. Therefore, planning staff finds the request of appeal number 11939 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions from the board?
Okay, now let's hear from the appellant. And let's start by getting you sworn in.
First, I'm going to swear you in. Please raise your right hands. I could swear both of you in at the same time. Do you swear or affirm the testimonies you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
Yes, I do.
as well as you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Great, you may begin.
Okay, and then can you state your names and mailing address for the record?
I'm Anthony Ranieri. I'm the owner of the property. And the mailing address is 1300 Hampton Avenue, Suite 100, 63139.
I am Paul Brendan, architect, Brenden, 3459 Arsenal Street, 63118.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony, one at a time.
Okay, so as Mr. Winkler stated, we filed for a commercial building building permit application on this, and we're denied based on the 0 lot line setback. It's a kind of an unusual situation because it's really the side of our lot which faces Brandon, and then where this particular building would be constructed is non-contiguous with the remaining parcels up on Reber Place, because this building's actually going to face Reber, not Brannan, and it doesn't really fit in with the fabric of the setback that's to the west on Reber, and it really more aligns with Reber Place than it does on Brannan. I will also point out that all the current residential homes that are on Brannan, all those have a 0 lot line setback as they set now. So it would really more mimic what is on Brannan currently.
Okay. Any board members have any questions regarding that testimony? Okay, Mr. Brennan.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get my mute off quick enough.
Oh.
I have a quick question, and it may be just that I did not hear properly. So there's a 0 lot line on Brannan, and what is it on Reber? I apologize. I know you said it.
I don't know what it is on Reber. I know that this particular portion of the street is really not contiguous with the fabric of the residential homes that are on the west side of Brannan. So we're on the east side of Brannan, and it's a little kind of a funny little cul-de-sac that sits on the east side of Brannan, and that's where this particular building would face, and where we're requesting the 0 lot line.
Mona,
What
it's 20 feet.
block is it on Brannan there?
On Brannan, it's 0.
I mean, I'm sorry, on Reber. I apologize.
Oh, on Reber, I don't know.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The 100 block of Reber. What 100 block of Reber is that, please?
What 100 block is that? That's a good question, actually. I don't know. It has a Brannan address, so I don't think it has a Reber address, but I could figure out what that block would be.
Great.
It dead ends into the Missouri Pacific Railroad lines right there, as you can see on the drawing. So it's a dead end. And on what would be the west side of Brannan is where the residential area starts.
Okay, so what's our 100 block on Brannan then?
I'm looking that up now.
20.
No.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. On Brannan, it's 2,700.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then on Reber, it should be the 52 of Reber.
So what I'm understanding is there's not any residential property there. I'm trying to figure out in my brain where that is located, and there's not any other residential property there.
There is on the west side of Brannan, but this parcel is on the east side of Brannan.
I get that. I'm really trying to figure it out on Reber. So
Yeah.
So Mona, the residential structures on this block all face Brannan. And so the setback is established.
There's nothing on Reber.
Correct. None of them face Reber. None of the residential structures face Reber. So the
That's
setbacks
really my
established.
question.
Okay.
So it doesn't really matter what the setback is as much on the Reber side because we align on Brannan, and on the Reber side, there's not additional residential on that side.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, That's what I was concerned about. So thank you very much for tolerating my confusion there. Thank you so much.
No problem. Understood. No problem.
Perfect.
Mr. Brennan, do you have any additional testimony you'd like to offer?
I just think to kind of reiterate what Tony said, the building where it's placed allows better vehicular access for its intended function. And the rest of the site is already utilized for various construction activities that he has there. And the way we've positioned the building gives him better vehicular access than if we had to adhere to the setback.
Okay. Any board members have any additional questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to testify in favor of this appeal? Okay, is there anyone here to testify in opposition to this appeal? Hearing none, I will read into the record exhibits, certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, city journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, and a memo from planning and urban design. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard. Drea, will you please read appeal number 11940?
Appeal number 11940, 2000 North
I'll talk
Broadway.
first.
Guys, I'll be sworn in first.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, we might begin.
Again, my name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I represent the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to make an addendum to Building Permit AB 580-945-24, increasing the number of dwelling units from 177 to 185 per plans at 2000 North Broadway. I'd like to present as evidence for this case, photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of Blackline Design and Construction, care of Michael Schwartz, concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit, authorizing the petitioner to make an addendum to AB 580-945-24 per plans at 2000 North Broadway in city block number 320.00 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is Zone H, Area Commercial District, and the North Broadway Special Use District overlay. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to lessen or avoid congestion in the public streets and highways in the city of St. Louis and surrounding areas. The applicable zoning code provisions are section 26.68.010, structures prohibited. No structure shall be erected, placed, enlarged, or structurally altered unless such action shall make the premises upon which it shall stand conform to the regulations of the district in which the premises are located, unless authorized by other provisions of the zoning code. Section 26.16.085E is the bicycle parking requirements, bicycle reduction. Off-street parking reduction of bicycle parking. The total number of vehicle off-street parking spaces required under the zoning code shall be reduced at a ratio of 1 automobile off-street parking space for each 1 bicycle space provided. The total number of required automobile off-street parking spaces, however, shall not be reduced by more than 10% of any newly developed or rehabilitated structure. And then section 26.48.030, which takes you to 26.28.040, parking and loading regulations, parking space. Each new multiple family dwelling shall provide parking space sufficient to accommodate 1 motor car for each 1 dwelling unit. Each rehabilitated or reconstructed dwelling shall provide parking space sufficient to accommodate 3 motor cars for each 4 dwelling units. Notwithstanding the foregoing 2 sentences, in the case of multiple family dwelling constructed exclusively for occupancy by elderly or blind or other physically handicapped person, and structurally designed in accordance with specific federal housing administration requirements for such dwellings, the required amount of parking is reduced from the specified ratio of 40% of adequate space is provided in the dwelling in an accessory building or on the lot to ensure that parking space, as otherwise required by zoning district regulations, will be available in the event of a change in occupancy. No such parking space, including in the interior aisle of any parking lot, shall extend into a minimum required rear or side yard area. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. In summary, this is an addendum permit to a permit that was issued last year. That's AB 580945-24, which received variance per appeal number 11877. This application increases the number of units, which therefore increases the required amount of bicycle parking. The plans show 98 off-street parking spaces being provided. However, they would actually need 139 parking spaces per the addendum. So that is a difference from the previous variance. This project lacks 28 off-street parking spaces, and the previous application lacked 24 off-street parking spaces. So it's a difference of 4 parking spaces on site. Therefore, an area variance is required. Are there any questions from the board?
Okay, let's hear from the appellant. Mr.
My name is Mark Hall.
Mr. Hall, let's get you sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great, may begin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, these updates that
Mr. Hall, we need to get your name and mailing address for the record.
okay, it's Mark Hall. Mailing address is 43238 Brownstone Court, Ashburn, Virginia 20147.
Okay, proceed.
Yeah, so this is a slight modification that is a byproduct of the continuation and formalization of the plans for redevelopment for the building. We were able to, by making some modifications inside the building, increase the unit count. That threw us off per Mr. Winkler's comments slightly in terms of what we had approved in our variance last fall as it relates to the number of parking spaces we control inside the property. I would update the board that we continue to have options across the street. I think is represented by Michael Schwartz, our advisor, last fall for the purchase and development of further parking. But I think our variance today is just simply driven by the fact that in finalizing the plans and specifications, our unit count went up a bit, and we're 4 parking spaces off and requesting that the variance be held at 95 spaces, which is what we control internally on the property. And that is our request. And obviously to modify our unit count from 177 to 185.
Okay, any board members have any questions for Mr. Hall?
How did the unit count, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, how did that mix change?
As a percentage, it really didn't. We are predominantly 1-bedroom development, but the mix really did not get altered as we added these additional units. I think it's pretty consistent with what we had represented before. And so, materially, nothing has changed as far as unit count and unit mix goes inside the building.
The units you added, are they all 1 bedrooms?
Mark Hardy, do you have any addition? I don't have that on the tip of my tongue. So I would have to come back and update that, but we're talking about a very minor adjustment. Maybe I can rely on Mark Hardy, who's on the phone. Can you give me a update on what that did to the unit count? Unit mix?
We'll have to get him sworn in.
He has to be sworn in, so we will
Yep.
need to get testimony. Joe, do
Okay.
you have any additional questions for Mr. Hall?
No, that was it.
Okay, any other board members have any questions for Mr. Hall? Okay, is there anyone here to testify in favor of this appeal? And Mr. Hardy, this would be your opportunity.
Okay.
Please
I
raise your
need-
right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, we're gonna begin.
All right, so Mr. Hardy, can you state your name and mailing address for the record?
Yes, Mark Hardy, Hardy, mailing address 7700 Old Georgetown Road, Bethesda, Maryland, 20814.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony.
Okay. As Mark had mentioned, we had done some rework inside the building and gained those additional spaces. I'm having somebody pull the exact unit mix. I believe that the added units are 1-bedroom units because of where they were located, which is along the North Broadway elevation. But I've got somebody digging into it right now. I just don't have it in front of me. I'm going to say I'm 95% sure it's 1-bedroom units.
I was going to say the same. I'm pretty sure there were 7 1-bedrooms.
Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions? Okay, is there anyone else here to testify in favor of this appeal?
Actually, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we have the unit count here.
Okay.
That's the old, that's the new. So it added, we went from 20 studios to 23 studios and 132 1-beds to 137 1-beds. So we added 3 studios and 5 1-beds.
So it turns out it's 3 studio units and 5 1-bedroom units. Is what
Okay.
was added.
I was just wanting to make sure you didn't have 7 3-bedroom units. That's
No.
all.
Not at all,
Just change my thought on your parking. That was all.
No.
So that was my concern.
Right.
Okay. Is there anyone here to testify in opposition to this appeal? All right. Hearing none, I will read into the record exhibits. Certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, and a memo from Planning and Urban Design. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard. Drea, can you read appeal number 11957?
Appeal number 11957, 4974 Linville Boulevard.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great.
Again, my name is Evan Winkler, Community Development Planner for the City of St. Louis, and I'll be representing the Building Commissioner. I'm here to present evidence of an appeal to construct a mixed-use building per plans, zoning only at 4974 Lindell Boulevard. I'd like to present as evidence for this case photos and aerials of the said property, plans for the project, and a certified copy of the City of St. Louis zoning ordinance. The basis for denial of Hush Blackwell, care of David Richardson, concerning the building commissioner's refusal to issue a building permit, authorizing the petitioner to construct a mixed-use building per plan zoning only at 4974 Lindell Boulevard in city block number 3883.00 is as follows. The present zoning for this address is the Central West End Form-Based District overlay and the zone underlying Zone E, Multiple Family Dwelling District. The intent of the applicable zoning provisions are to promote orderly and beneficial development in accordance with the optimum development of the City of St. Louis and in furtherance of the comprehensive plan for the city's development. The applicable zoning code provisions are ordinance number 69406, which is the Central West End Form-Based District, and also section 26.16.080E12, off-street parking and loading requirements. All parking required in any dwelling district, unless otherwise stated in the district regulations, shall be located in a main building, in an accessory building, or on the lot occupied by the main building, or except in the A single-family dwelling district and the B two-family dwelling district on an alternative site, provided the following conditions are met. Required off-street parking in any dwelling district may be provided as a conditional use on property other than that occupied by the main building. Provided that the property for which the parking is located is in the same possession, either by deed, by easement, or long-term lease, which has a life term equal to or exceeding the life of the building occupied by the principal use, and in no case less than 99 years. And further provided that the parking will be located in an equally or less restricted zoning district. Proof of such deed, easement, or long-term lease, including covenants which bind the owner and his heirs or assigns to maintain the required number of off-street parking spaces during the existence of the principal use, shall be required to be filed by the zoning administrator and the city's assessor's office. At any time that the main building is rendered useless, or if an alternative site which is just as suitable for off-street parking becomes available, the zoning administrator may allow the rescission of the covenant or long-term lease. And then number 2 is that the off-street parking space shall be provided at a location within walking distance of 150 feet of the lot of the main use and shall be accessible by pedestrians. The distance shall be measured from the nearest point of access of the lot occupied by the principal use and the nearest point of the parking space. And then finally, section 26.16.085E, bicycle parking requirements, off-street parking reduction for bicycle parking. The total number of off-street parking spaces required under the zoning code shall be reduced at a ratio of 1 automobile off-street parking space for each 1 bicycle space provided. The total number of required automobile off-street parking spaces, however, shall not be reduced by more than 10% for any newly developed or rehabilitated structure. Evidence of lawful nonconformity has not been presented. In summary, the applicant is applying to develop a mixed-use building at this location. This is, you may remember, similar to the project that was proposed a couple years ago and was granted several variances per appeal number 11607. So I'm going to go through them. It's in the form-based district, so there's quite a few. Please bear with me. The first one is in the envelope standards, the side setback shall be a minimum of 5 feet and a maximum of 10 feet from the property line. An area variance is required prior to approval for the side setback along the east property line, which is proposed to be 46 feet and 8 inches. Number 2, the allowable height minimum in 6 stories and 75 feet tall. An area variance is required for the parking garage portion of the building, which will be 5 stories and a proposed height of 56 feet 6 inches, with an average height along the east side of the building being 57 feet 9 inches. And this is a variance that was granted previously. The next one is that a minimum of 8 feet and a maximum of 12 feet ceiling height is permitted on the upper floors. They actually will need 3 area variances for this. One will be for level 6, one will be for level 29, and one will be for level 30, which have ceiling heights which vary, but they actually exceed the maximum allowance, and they'll be closer to 14 feet. Also, 1 off-street parking space is required per dwelling unit. There will be 264 parking spaces provided on site for a total of, and there's 305 dwelling units. An additional 46 parking spaces are going to be provided at 4953 West Pine Boulevard, which is under the same ownership. The combined total parking is 310 parking spaces for only 305 dwelling units. However, it's per a conditional use approval that it meets this requirement for providing parking that's off-site. So 46 of those parking spaces will be provided at 4953 West Pine Boulevard. This means it's 11 short on-site, but they're meeting the condition through this alternate location. So you'll be granting a conditional use for that. They are taking advantage of the bicycle parking reduction. Then there is access to the parking and services shall be from the alley. Although there is an alley, there will be access to parking garage from Lindell Boulevard. So an area variance is required for that, which is one that was granted previously. The primary building materials are allowed to be brick, masonry, tile, concrete panels, concrete, reinforced poured in place, precast concrete masonry units, stone block, native or synthetic equivalent, and stucco. The tower features glass and the garage features metal as primary material. Because glass and metal are not permitted primary materials, 2 use variances are required. Again, this is a variance that was granted previously. Then the terrace is a permitted frontage type in the neighborhood core area with specific dimension and locational requirements. The proposed terrace features varying setbacks which exceed 15 feet. Therefore, an area variance is required for that. And then additionally, terraces are not permitted within 30 feet of a street corner. And the terrace is located at the corner of Lindell and Kings Highway. Therefore, a second area variance is required for that, although those are 2 variances that were granted previously. Then the next one is that any lot greater than 50 feet in width requires a vertical plane break at a primary building facade to prevent a flat length of the building greater than 50 feet long. Additionally, a horizontal plane is required on the upper story setbacks. The code does not consider a curved facade, and there are no vertical plane breaks on the primary building facade, preventing widths that are greater than 50 feet wide. Additionally, there are no horizontal plane breaks per vertical setback. Therefore, an area variance is required. Again, this is one that was granted previously. The allowable materials are listed for building facades. The project proposes glass and metal, which is not an allowable material. And then 2 use variances required. Again, these were issued previously. And then finally, any wall opening on a primary building facade must correspond to interior space and may not span across the building structure. The project proposes an opening along the 6th level that spans the building. Therefore, an area variance is required. Again, this is one that was previously granted. So, the Planning and Urban Design Agency states that the 2025 Strategic Land Use Plan calls this a Central Area West. Then this designation supports a mix of building scales, including those up to 30 stories. Development in this area should support a diverse, dense, walkable, and transit-friendly environment. This designation encourages parking to the front or side of the building. The proposed project includes a parking structure to the side of the building facing Lindell Avenue. However, the following project considerations mitigate this concern. Total number of units added to the neighborhood, number of units per acre, mix of uses, and that the project is located on 2 major bus routes. Thus, the granting of the variance is in keeping with the goals of the Central Area West. Planning staff therefore finds the request of appeal number 11940 is in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan. Are there any questions from the board?
I have a question.
Yep.
What is different?
So there is an increased unit count, but the form-based code doesn't address like minimum lot size like we do in the underlying code. So what is different is this, the setback along the, the east property line. So they're further away from St. Regis than they previously were. Another difference is the parking being provided as a conditional use on an ulterior site nearby. as well as ceiling height. So they have ceiling heights that are above the maximum, which is 12 feet.
Right.
And then that's it.
Thank you.
Any other board members have questions? Okay, let's hear from the appellant.
Hi. Going to be sworn in?
Yeah,
Yep.
please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, maybe.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Eckelkamp. I'm an attorney with Hush Blackwell, representing the appellant on this matter. I think one important thing.
And Mr. Elkamp, can we get your mailing address for the record?
Sorry, yeah. 8001 Forsyth Boulevard, Suite 1500, Clayton, Missouri, 63105.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry, just so you guys can see me. So I'd just like to clarify on the first point. We are seeking a variance on the parking. It's not a conditional use. We're not looking to encumber that side lot there. I'm going to get further into that in the presentation that I mailed to the board secretary. I think you guys all received that. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll kind of just run through this. As Evan mentioned, this project was approved back in 2022. This is located at the prominent corner of Lindell and Kings Highway Boulevard. It's obviously a vacant surface parking lot. It's 30-story high-rise, 305 units, 75 bike parking spaces, and a retail component. Obviously, Andrew and Sam, who are here with me today, along with the development team, architects from LJC as part of the development team, are here to answer any questions I'm not able to. And so this is a building that's primarily a mix of studio and one-bedroom apartments. And Mona, just to answer your question that you asked, what changed? So the unit count did slightly differ, and to get ahead of board member Klitzing, the number of beds did not change though. So we just went from a 2-bedroom down to a studio and 1-bedroom. So the number of beds did not change, just the number of unit counts, which affected the parking requirement. So
Thank you.
Yep, of course. Yeah, so as Evan mentioned, we were back at the Preservation Board in May of 2022. We were here in front of this board in July of 22 and received approvals at both of those boards. And in January of 2023, we received approval for a tax abatement from the St. Louis City Board of Aldermen. And then we had some slight adjustments to the project. So then we went back through that whole process. And then in April of 2025, we received unanimous support from the Preservation Board for our new project that is slightly different. And so we are here before you again today. So the next slide, if you're looking, is the project timeline. It kind of just really illustrates that in the summer of 2022 is when Andrew and Sam and their team kicked this project off. They've made a ton of progress, been through all the legislative approvals. They actually have their foundation permit submitted. That was submitted earlier this month. They are looking to close their construction loan on July 1st. That's not an exaggeration, and then commence construction on July 2nd. We're also helping on that aspect of the project. So I can assure you that they are ready to go, and then hopefully the project will be completed in the summer of 2027. So, let's see. On the next slide, I think Evan did a great job here. So there's a slight structural and design changes necessitated this reapproval of the project. As I mentioned, you guys previously approved all the variances required for this project. And the side yard setback and the parking variances are really the only two new things that are being addressed today. And as I mentioned earlier, that it's changing the 2 bedrooms down to a 1-bedroom and the studio apartments, keeping the bed count the same though. So, and that change, I think someone may have asked earlier why that change was made, and that is just a reflection of the market conditions and attracting renters and residences who will live, work, and play in the neighborhood. So just a adjustment made by the market. So this next slide is the project support. This project has thankfully been supported at every level. We have the Board of Aldermen, the Preservation Board, Cultural Resources, SLDC, our closest neighbor, St. Regis, and then Alderman Browning, who I see is in attendance today. And so we have worked closely with St. Regis and all of the stakeholders to come up with a project that is both financially feasible and well received by the neighborhood. If you look to the next site plan or next slide, you'll see the site plan. It's oriented to Kings Highway with the parking garage coming off of the entrance to the parking garage under a nice porte cochere coming off of Lindell. You can see here, I think, Board Member Parsley, you always ask about the trash. That is totally within the confines of the building. And the loading is off the alley, and the building is of a high design, so it's very aesthetically pleasing as well. Then on the next levels 2 through 5, you can kind of see that the residential tower, faces Forest Park and wraps on the western edge of the garage, which is levels 2 through 5. The next slide just kind of shows you the amenity deck, which sits above the garage with the pool and other amenities. And then the next slide kind of gives you a look at the typical floor plan. Here you can see on the next slide, the materials, as Evan mentioned, are primarily consisting of glass and metal. And then it kind of gives you a little flavor of the inspiration and design on the parking garage itself. So as Evan mentioned, we are seeking a variance on the use materials, but it does fit in nicely with its prominent neighbor to the south, 100 on the park, and then also fits in well to the north with the historic Chase Park Plaza. So the next slide will show you the elevations from the north, east, and west elevations. You can kind of see the overall design of the building. It's of a high design. This again is just another enlarged elevation if you guys needed to look at some further detail there on the north and west elevations. And then the next slide kind of gives you 4 different perspectives on the pedestrian experience and what this building will deliver to the Central West End. It will really help finish that block off on a prominent corner that's been vacant for a while, and this project is the perfect fit for that. So here you can kind of see on the next one how it fits into the existing streetscape very nicely. It pairs well with 100 on the park while also pairing well with the Chase Park Plaza, its 2 most prominent neighbors. And then getting to the variances. So I won't read all of these mentioned on this slide as Evan went through those. There were 14 variances previously approved for this project, and so we are here before you again in terms of the side setback and on the parking. So on the side yard setback, as Evan mentioned, we are at approximately 47 feet, and this is just a little bit larger than the last setback. But I will note that this is in conjunction in cooperation with St. Regis, who we've worked with for the last several years on getting this project designed and ready to go. And if you guys can see on your packet, there is a little pocket park there on the eastern edge of the parcel that will be for use by St. Regis as well. So this setback was made in coordination with them, but then also it benefits St. Regis in terms of us working together on the best utilization of the space. And then on the parking, that's the next slide. So as Evan mentioned, the project has 305 units, approximately 264 parking spaces. We have at a minimum over 75 spaces for parking, bike parking, excuse me, but there is a limit on the number of parking spaces that can be reduced. It caps out at 10%. So if you reduce those to 30 spaces, that leaves us with a request for having 11 less spaces than as required by code. So we are confident that the parking spaces that we are planning on site will be sufficient to meet the market demand, and there is precedent within the neighborhood for this level of parking. And as I mentioned again, this is not one last slide. Board of Adjustment previously approved these 14 area variances. When we were in front of the Preservation Board, they had a lot of great things and supported our project, calling it a welcoming, well-skilled pedestrian experience that provides a creative interplay between it and the adjacent tower. They found that the use of the primary materials, although would be a variance under the form-based code, it continued the wall of tall architecturally significant buildings along Kings Highway. There's a terrace, and I actually had to work with architects on this. When I was thinking about what a terrace meant, I was thinking something elevated. I would think of it more.
I'm going to ask right now.
Sorry, was there a question?
I do have a question.
Sure.
Have you changed the plans at all? I mean, I know that we've changed the units or some of the interior plans, but have you changed the plans other than like the height of the units and that based on what we approved originally?
There's been, and I'm gonna defer to the LJC and developer team, but just at a high level, there's been some slight design changes, but the building is ostensibly the same, yeah. But I don't know if Andrew, Sam, or if anybody from LJC wants to
Has
add
the
in.
city actually approved the change of the plans though?
In terms, I'm sorry. Maybe
Period.
Yeah, I mean,
when
the
we
preservation,
change the plans, when they come to here, we've usually had the city look at that prior to this happening.
yeah, the city has looked at this and we got approved at the preservation board, yeah.
No. The zoning looks at the plans before we see them, typically. Evan, can you chime in here for me, please?
Yeah, sure. I think Mona's trying to inquire about, and I apologize if I missed it, but did you say you were just asking for 2 additional? Did you mention the ceiling height, or has that changed from the plans that I reviewed?
No, nothing has changed from what Evan has reviewed.
Okay.
Because you just, I'm a little confused because you said they have changed slightly.
I'm
but then
going
you
back.
backtalked and said they hadn't changed. So I'm confused.
Sorry, yeah, no, I can clarify that. When I say they've changed, I've talked about when you guys first approved this project back in 2022 or
Right.
2023. So then we went through that whole typical city submittal process, and everything has been approved up to this date to where it needs to be to now we're in front of you today.
So you moved the setback, but you didn't change the plans to accommodate the setback.
Well, there's just the setback changed, and then we got our plans resubmitted, and then there's a unit. When I say change, I'm going back to the 2022. That's why I was highlighting the changes that have been made.
Okay, I'm just making sure
Yeah,
that
no,
we're all on the same page.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's good to have clarity. And so again, I was just mentioning, the preservation board found that the building materials complements the existing context. And so then with that, I guess in terms of next steps, as I mentioned, this project is ready to go. The financing is in place, the contractor is in place, the development team and architect is in place. And we would request your favorable consideration so we can report back to our lender that we are ready to go. We have all the approvals we need, and we can close that construction financing on July 1st and start construction on July 2nd. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and note that Sam and Andrew are here along with LJC, and then I see the alderman and then some members from St. Regis as well. So thank you very much for your time.
My next question is Mr. Browning seen the new plans?
I don't mean to speak for the alderman, but yes, he has, and he submitted a letter of support.
I saw the letter of support. I read it. So yeah, I just want to make sure he's seen the new plans specifically.
I am aware that he has seen the plans, and he wrote a follow-up email just stating that he still supports the project, and then made some comments about just by providing it on an alternative site, it reduces the developability of, by providing parking on an alternative site, it actually reduces the developability of those alternative sites. So I do know he has seen these plans.
All right, Evan, and one last question for you. Someone in the zoning department has also seen the little changes that have occurred.
Yes, I was not aware they were going to be asking for a variance for parking today. So that's one thing I was checking with our city attorney about. So the denial I wrote up is based on a conditional use for an alternate site. So we may have to have Archer chime in at some point during deliberations. But I think I know we're looking at the same plans.
Okay, that was my really biggest question. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Mr. Applecamp, do you have any additional testimony?
No, unless you want me to keep talking. But no, I appreciate all of your time, and again, happy to answer any questions. Yeah, just to clarify, I know this is an important point for the alderman. Yeah, we are seeking the variance on the parking. There is a lot that the development team has control and owns, but the intent and the request is the variance on the 11 space reduction in parking requirement. So thank you.
Is the lot owned by the same entity as the building to be?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions? Okay. Is there anyone here to testify in favor of this appeal? Well, we'll go with you, Alderman. Let's get you sworn in.
Thank you.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great.
So my name is Alderman Michael Browning. I am the alderman for the 9th Ward and have been for the past couple years. This project has been going as the appellant testified. Sorry.
I'm sorry for the formality, but can you give us your mailing address?
Sure, 1200 Market Street.
Thank you.
So, like I said, I've been in this office for a couple years. This project has been going on since before I was in office. It is really a outstanding project for the neighborhood. It is something that I think will be assigned to not just the neighborhood, but the rest of the city, that we are able to build things of scale and that we're able to show that there is a will to invest in St. Louis. The site here is an extremely prominent one, and it's been empty as long as I can remember. So it is really important that we put a building here. It's important that we have a nice looking building, which I think this is a very beautiful building. And I think it's necessary to be flexible and try to figure out what we can do to make this happen, understanding that the environment is extremely challenging right now. I think the developer has done an excellent job of working with the neighborhood and really talking to the affected parties, whether it's the St. Regis behind them or the surrounding community, just to make sure that we are really checking every box and making this as nice of a contribution to the neighborhood as possible. I can say I have seen the new plans, and I've seen, the plans every step of the way. And I really appreciate everything that the appellant has done here to just try to make this work, despite, the significant headwinds that we've been facing. The fact that we are this close to finally breaking ground on this is nothing short of amazing. And I think it's a testament to the work that's gone into this to try to make this happen. And I just want to offer my full support. And one last note on the issue of the parking. I have had subsequent conversations since the email I sent to the zoning staff. I have had subsequent conversations with the developer, and my concerns have been satisfied.
Okay, any board members have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is Mr. Schlafly. If I could testify at the right moment, please. Thank you.
Sure. No questions? Okay. Mr. Schlafly, are you testifying in favor of this appeal?
Yes, sir. I'm president of the board of the St. Regis, and I'm testifying in favor, sir.
Okay, so let's get you sworn
Yes, madam, my name is Joe Schlafly.
in. Just a second, Mr. Schlafly.
Okay. Yeah,
One
thank you.
moment. Sorry, one moment, please. There we go. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great.
My name is Joe Schlafly, and I reside at 4950 Lindell Boulevard, which is the center tower of the St. Regis.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony, Mr. Schlafly.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish to endorse and echo what Alderman Browning said. This is an extraordinary project. As a young person growing up in St. Louis in the Central West End, I witnessed the fire that demolished the building that stood on the lot in question here. And it has been vacant, I believe, and Sam can tell me if I'm wrong, ever since. So that's over a half century ago. This is a monumentally important development for our city and for this area. And I think it's a tremendous moment for St. Louis. With respect to the specific narrow question of parking, there are other parking lots. Alderman Browning is working with us. There's a parking lot available next to the old hospital. And so I don't think the parking is an issue at all, particularly as we develop bicycle access through the Greater Greenway, TrailNet, and others. Bicycle access is coming on strong. And I really encourage the city, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to continue the hard work in the use of bicycles and e-bikes and that kind of thing. So in summary, this is an excellent project. We support it at the St. Regis, and I want to thank you, sir, for your attention to this matter. Thank you.
Any board members have any questions? Archer?
Yes, Mr. Schlafly, I just have a clarifying question. When the board voted to support this project, did they know about the change to the parking?
Yeah, I'm going to defer that, Madam, to council because I'm not sure of the timeline with respect to the 11 parking spots. But so I'll defer that to the developer, to the council, if I could, as a board member of the St. Regis, and we've been working hand in glove. This has not been an issue that has been of concern to us.
Okay, sure thing.
Mr. Schlafly, if you were deferring to me, yeah, nothing has changed here that has been presented to St. Regis. This is 100% what St. Regis has been involved with.
Yes.
So hopefully, I think that was maybe Archer who asked that question, if that helps clarify.
Yeah, with respect to the St. Regis individually, I'm sorry, I thought you meant more globally. With respect to St. Regis, this has not been an issue. We have been aware of this all along.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schlafly. Any other board members have any questions? All right, is there anyone else here to testify in favor of this appeal? Okay, is there anyone here to testify in opposition to this appeal? Okay, hearing none, I will read into the record exhibits. Certified copy of the zoning ordinance, appeal to the board, basis of denial, meeting notice letter, City Journal public notices, photographs, Sanborn maps, memo from planning and urban design, presentation submitted by petitioner, letter of support from Alderman Browning, a letter of support from Joseph Schlafly, President, St. Regis Apartments, Inc., and Kay Gasson, Finhouse, Secretary, St. Regis Apartments, Inc. Letter of approval from the Central West in Planning and Development Committee, and an email letter of input from Alderman Browning. And with that, I will consider this appeal having been heard. Or do we need to take a 5-minute recess, or shall we continue?
I'm good.
Okay, Devin, we thank you for your service. You can log off.
Off the record at 2:49 p.m.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's just for, don't worry.
Thank
I
you.
just have to say when you guys are done and the time. So
Okay.
have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, appeal number 20581, 2911 Gasconade Street.
I don't have an issue with this. I know that the Dutchtown neighborhood has more kids in that neighborhood than anywhere else in the city. And having another daycare over there is probably a good thing. As long as we state that they're not allowed more than 32 kids at a time in the facility, I think we're good to go over there. Does anybody else have any comments?
Wouldn't you want to rephrase that to no more kids than what the state of Missouri allows?
Absolutely.
I'm a little concerned about their two shifts. I mean, who's
Yeah.
going to make sure that the first 32 kids get out before the other ones get there? But that'll come out in the wash in the future if there's a problem there. So,
Right. As long as they don't have more than 32 at a time, I don't care how they run it shift wise or whatever the state allows. And he testified 32. So that's what the state is allowing.
is that your motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
second.
Unless anybody has a comment.
I have one
wanna do
question.
I understand the conditions.
I'm sorry, Archer.
Evan might have been asking the same question as me, so I'll let him go first.
Okay, well,
All right, I'll make a motion with all the normal
so I just for clarification, Mona, we're 32 people as testified or state requirements.
I'm gonna do it as state require, as state
State limits.
thank you.
More than what the state allows.
State
Correct.
allows.
That would be.
Okay.
No more than state allows.
Want to
And,
state their hours
our-
of operation?
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
And our normal conditions that we typically put on daycares. Hours of operation were 6 a.m. as per his testimony were 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week, Sunday through Saturday. And that's all I got in my notes.
Would you want to put the nuisance statute on?
Sure, we can add that.
I'll second your motion with that.
Wait, who said something?
This is Archer.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the condition of the children must be accompanied by an adult. I recently was reading that the best practice is to update that to say adult or parent, so that if it's a younger parent, it's not a hassle that they have to have someone else drop the kid off. If you'd like to change that condition, it's a suggestion.
Absolutely, Archer. I think that's a wise change. If we could update that condition for the future, that's fabulous.
Joe, do you second that?
I'll
motion with that
still
change?
second it.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Motion moved by Mona, seconded by Joe. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 All of those opposed? Motion carries. Findings, Mona?
Well, won't be a detriment as actually probably an asset, but we're gonna call it not a detriment as conditioned.
Okay. Moving on, appeal number 11939, 2714 through 24 Brannan.
Looks like a great place for this building to me.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved by Joe, seconded by Mona. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All of those opposed? Motion carries. Findings, Joe?
Will not be a detriment.
Okay. Appeal number 11940, 2000 North Broadway.
Joe? What do you think about this one? I personally don't have an issue with it, but you had more questions about it than I did, so deferring.
My questions were answered. I have no problem with this.
Okay.
Actually, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second you.
All right, motion made by Joe, seconded by George. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 All of those opposed? Motion carries. Findings, Joe?
Will not be a detriment.
Okay. And finally, appeal number 11957.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
This is going to be so nice. We're finally going to have a building on this lot. I'll
like
make a
to make-
motion.
I was going to do that, Mona.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Joe. I'll let you.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Joe, seconded by Mona. All of those in favor? I'm sorry.
What, Evan? No.
Sorry, no, just for clarity, because I had written it as a conditional use, but they're requesting a variance for the parking. Can you just state that they'll be granted an area variance for the lack of parking?
Ooh, I have one more thing. Now that you've
Sure.
stopped us, should we say that the property on Pine must maintain the ownership with the property on Lindell, 4974? Should we say that should always be held together?
I
do
That's a question.
don't think so.
It's not
we're-
needed?
If we're going to give them a variance.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh?
If
So
we're,
they're actually requesting a variance for that parking piece.
yeah, if
That's why I
they
was
were
like,
not
no.
requesting a variance, then yes, but they're requesting a variance. So if we are going to allow that variance, then that would not be necessary.
Learn something new every day here. Okay, sorry.
I make a
Great, thank
motion to approve.
I still second.
And to be clear, that is with the variance.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion made by Joe, seconded by Mona. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All of those opposed? Motion carries. Findings, Joe?
Will be an asset.
There you go.
Hey, there it is.
There it is. What is that, like 3 this year?
Maybe 10 in the last 5.
Um,
I'm proud of you,
All
Joe.
right.
Thank you.
I
I love that building. I
Make
do
a
think it's
motion to
pretty.
approve the meeting notes from
Minutes.
minutes
Meeting minutes.
from, gotta find it on my phone here. Okay. For 6/4/25. There's 5 different things here and I approve them all. I read through them. There's no mistakes that I could find. So, Dre, do you know the exact dates on all of these? The minutes?
Yeah, they're all June 4th.
Oh, okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes of June the 4th.
I'll second you.
All right, motion made by Joe, seconded by George. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Meeting minutes approved. New business, Evan?
No new business. We will see you here next week.
All right.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by George. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Till next week.
Thank you all.
See y'all next
Thanks.
week. Have a good one. Good to see you, George.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.